dismiss this.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We're doing it live.
Have you seen that clip? That's one of my favorite fucking clips.
It was the first thing that happened that people heard when.
And we'll be back tomorrow with it.
So are we live now?
Damn it.
We are live now.
Okay.
Okay.
Take two.
Take two. Click.
Welcome back to
Welcome back
another.
to-
And we're back.
Another episode of another episode.
Of another episode. Of,
Yay, let's do it
let's
again.
reach here.
I'm trying
We'll
to,
have to.
Yeah.
You're top, my bottom.
See, I'm trying to get off my phone so I can share this sucker to my page.
Your page.
There we go. Now I'm up.
All right. Apple for the win. There we go. Does everything sound good, Brando?
We'll keep talking.
I'm talking. Does everything sound good?
Yeah, but you shouldn't sing like
Other
that.
than my horrible
All right,
singing.
so let's actually have a podcast instead of struggling through all this.
Let's have a podcast
Jesus.
instead of a struggle. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
I'm telling you, man, like, I love doing this with you guys. I really, really, really enjoy doing this with you guys. But, man, I've been having some serious technical difficulties lately. We got this new studio going on. We've been advancing it, and it's been, man, it's a little bit burning me out. So if we have a guest coming on, please reach out to us. Let us know how we sound in the comments below, so that way we can discuss with it.
We need to speak to people.
I think that's what it is.
We're losing our freaking minds.
I've been sitting at
just
home.
need some human
Self-quarantine is a problem.
I've been sitting
I've
at
still
home with
been
my
working,
wife
so-
and my 3-year-old. So I'm
have
just
I,
like,
but still.
I'm just.
Yeah, but your work is, you're up here solo. People
I
can
know.
drop stuff off
Well,
and still do that. You
I'm
might get
working.
some.
It's crazy.
That's
Well, you
crazy.
said you still got to go in tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I do.
Not me. Doctors' offices are not letting me come sell drugs.
That's smart. I wouldn't let you in either.
Rightfully so.
right.
This could be the doctor's offices doing this whole pandemic
Just trying to
because
keep-
they just don't want the salespeople coming around anymore, you know?
Yeah, man. I think they're having a lot of struggles. So a couple offices that I do talk to, because I've been operating more like an inside sales rep.
Mm-hmm.
I've been having tremendous telemed issues.
Really?
And it's not Zoom like that they're necessarily doing. Like I have a few doctors that are using Zoom that they're utilizing it from that perspective, but there's an actual like telemed program that they're working with, and boy, every time I talk to them, they're like, it went down for this afternoon, so we had to cancel everybody for the afternoon, reschedule them for tomorrow, cancel tomorrow's, and are moving them to other days. And so it's crazy. Like actually, I have one with my doctor, my personal doctor, tomorrow morning at 9:30. So I'll get my first chance from the perspective of an actual patient hanging out with their doctor, using all this technology.
Now, I wonder how this works with them using Zoom and Zoom recently getting hacked. I mean, does that create HIPAA violations and all that kind of stuff?
So, I
Depending
mean,
who's
like
listening?
I said, some are using Zoom, but there's actual telemed programs out there. So
I don't know that they're saving the audio. I think there might be some issues if you were recording the audio. I have
Even
no idea.
not recording. I mean, if they're Zoom has been getting hacked. So people go into conversations that...
But are they saving that
Yeah, but
audio?
like, yeah,
What's their process for when
They're-
a Zoom is done?
It's
Or
like
are
having
they?
somebody walk into your office during an appointment.
so like
And who
people
the
are
heck
hacked
knows
in
what's
and then
happening?
just
Oh,
sitting
so
on the
people
side
are
listening.
are listening and hacking.
Guess
Interesting.
who joined?
Guess who's on with us?
Who?
Brandy Morgan.
What's up, Brandy?
Former top
And
fan,
Patty.
Brandy Morgan.
Former top
Former. The fan previously known as Top Fan.
fan.
No, I know the stuff that I've seen. A lot of it is coding. Like they're trying to figure out, obviously, to get paid for what it is that they're doing. And there are certain ICD codes that you have to use for that. And it's trying to make sure that they have proper stuff to get all that stuff submitted. So I know on my end, the stuff that I've seen is people trying to figure out, like, if we do that, what is it supposed to look like? What coding are we supposed to use? Any
I don't
of
have
those.
one single comment on here. What are you guys doing? Why are you not writing comments to me? I'm on the Don't Be So Brood page.
We've got a ton of people on right now.
I know,
so
but I haven't heard
what do you,
one
single-
guys,
seen one single
talk to
comment.
us. Will you
So-
just talk to us, please?
Yeah, just tell us. I mean, tell us what you're doing. Like, how are you getting...
I just miss people, man.
I know. We just want to
I
talk
just
to
miss
you.
people.
Listen, we're
We
not
had
even
to go
talking about
live just
TikTok
for
yet.
engagement.
Okay, we will.
Yeah, because
But we're not right now.
We could jump right to that.
800 trillion views. But if you want nobody to be on, let's talk about TikTok.
Ouch.
I mean, let's see what
Ouch.
happens. Do you want to talk about your thing? Let's talk about your thing first.
What-
Well, the
Oh,
fact
God.
that you like.
Bye, all 14 of you that are still watching.
So Scott and I,
Prepared to be
Scott
bored.
had blown past me in followers on TikTok with some of his videos that get hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of views, and I was kind of winning the was slowly winning the race of like,
Jackwagon.
oh, I started to, mine picked up and I took off, and Scott was like sitting around like 15 and I was getting close to 30, and I was like, feeling pretty good about that. And then Scott texted me the other
nitrous.
day and
Six
just
people were gone for the
and
record.
just
That's okay.
blew past me to like whatever you're at, like 60 something thousand now.
Before we started, I was at 67.1 thousand.
Scott just
Followers.
basically posted a video up of putting.
Sorry, 67.3.
So for those of you who don't know, let's just give a cheap plug right now for Scott. If you've got AirPods and you want them pimped out to be you, let's say, hey, I don't want someone stealing my AirPods. I want to know that these are my AirPods.
That's right.
Well, guess what?
You got to keep them safe from your kids,
Yeah.
from your wife, from your
You got to
husband.
know whose are yours.
Yeah, mine are across the studio, but I have my name on it, my phone number on it. In case
I got
I
our
get
logo
lost.
on it. I got my
I was
back
really-
logo.
I was sick
I
of
mean,
picking up
Jason's
vets.
contemplating just leaving them somewhere so somebody calls so he has somebody to
I
talk
miss
See,
to.
so he's
people,
like,
man.
hey.
I miss people.
Did you find my AirPods? Cool. I left them there on purpose. What are you doing? What's your
Scott-
name?
It's like the girl at the drive-thru is just not interested anymore. She's like, just take your food and leave. I'm
I,
not here to have a conversation.
no flirting.
Like, you're the first person I've seen in 3 weeks.
I showed
Just
us.
you
I
talk
came-
to me.
I came up to the studio or actually work with Scott in Etches earlier today, and
Oh, Etches has got our new intern. Cool.
so while
We do.
we sat down for a minute, like taking a break, figuring out what we were getting ready to do. And actually, you were doing work for your actual job instead of Etches.
What?
Yeah,
I know, blasphemy.
Hope
And
this
so-
doesn't get out.
So I
I was doing actual job work.
So I sit down in the studio and I pull up my phone and I start reading. I start laughing, and he's like, what's so funny over there?" I was reading an article of a dude who was so bored he was texting just random numbers, starting fights, but he was breaking up with people. Like, so one guy was starting
Nice.
fights, the other guy was like, he'd just text a random number and be like, "I can't do this anymore."
Well,
I'm
you know
breaking
about
up with
you know about the thing about your phone neighbor? So you do your phone
Oh,
number
yeah.
and then you just add a number and you text that person and you're supposed to start talking to them. So type out your phone number and then just add one. So if it's like my last 4 digits are 4935, you go 4936 and you text that person and you're like, "Hey, we're phone number neighbors. We should be friends."
Right.
That was a thing. That was like a trend not very long ago.
That seems very spammy. It's like when you get the
He's
First
the person
couple of
that's like, "Don't be
digits.
texting me. I ain't got time for your shit."
So
Like-
one of them
you
was like,
buying something or not.
somebody was like, "That's it. I can't do this anymore. We're breaking up. Get over here and pick up your iguana and all their outfits."
That's pretty good. I
That's
like that
pretty
The
one.
good.
person was like, "Fuck you. Keep the iguana."
Hey, listen, we're breaking up.
Picking the outfits.
We're breaking up, and I want to keep the monthly subscription to Hot Dog Lipstick. Okay, that's what you
Is
need
there
to
a
say.
weird echo again? God dog it, man.
We didn't even change anything.
Nothing, man. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. It's not going to come through there because everything you hear through there is great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out why
They sound wonderful.
the double. Who the hell knows?
We're
Hang on, I'm gonna kill my mic completely now. Again, maybe.
yeah, you might be coming from.
I don't know why that would be,
It
but
could be
maybe.
me.
It's running through my computer this time, but
Do
Yeah,
you
but it
hear
could be
it through
through-
a specific mic? Like, are all of us sounding like that? Is one of us sounding like that? Like,
the follow up to that is, you know what? We're going to be doing this live out tonight and hanging out, but we're also going to upload it onto YouTube. I was saying on the first technical issue that we had, we're going to be putting this is going to be our podcast coming for this week. So,
Jennifer's here. What's up?
hey, Jennifer, we've been connecting and doing a lot of stuff through YouTube, through our lives, things like that. And we thought, you know what? Why don't we go back to the old days of the premiere?
We really just wanted to hang out with you guys. That's all it
'Cause I
was.
miss
We just
people,
miss you.
man.
We just miss
We
you guys.
do
We
miss
miss going out to
people.
bars and being live there. We miss watching UFC fights and having pizza, which allegedly the April 18th fight is still happening somehow. I don't know how that's even possible, but Dana White has stood by it and he hasn't put out any statements. Khabib is legitimately pissed about it
Yeah,
because
because he's stuck in Russia.
well, and they're talking all this stuff of like
Okay, it's got to be better now.
they're talking all this stuff of like Khabib chickened out, and he's like, "No, they told me it wasn't going to be in the United States, so I left the United States." He's like, "There's jet lag, there's all this stuff." He's like, "I've got to account for all these things." So I flew. He actually didn't fly to Russia. He flew into Abu Dhabi, which
Right.
is where Dana said it was like a 99% chance of that's where the fight's going to be. When he landed in Abu Dhabi, they held him at the airport and were like, "You can't come in." And so he was like, "Well, if I can't come in here," it was like, so he flew to Russia. And then got stuck there, same issue, where he was self-quarantined for like a little bit of
Should've
time
stayed
at the
in
hotel.
America. Sarah Palin can see Russia from her house.
So she's the only one that knew what was going on.
So basically, they're trying to say like, oh, they're going to bring in someone else and they're going to do all this. And Khabib kind of got thrown under the bus, and he's like, listen, his whole sin location. That's what he always says of like, you send the location and I'll be there.
Right.
Because I really want to see this fight. What I hope they'll do is just delay it once Ramadan is over, which Khabib, that's the big deal. It's like, hey, I'm going to be once that's over, give it a little bit of time, set this fight up, make it happen. This is a fight that everyone wants to see. Let's celebrate Corona being over.
So this is on the 18th.
Allegedly. It's still, he has not canceled it. Dana White is like adamant that this is happening.
Then we will pay-per-view it.
Oh, yeah. We'll be here if it happens.
For sure.
Yeah, they're still getting
Patty
some
says
weird
it still
feedback.
sounds weird. Let me see what
Try
this
it now.
sounds
I just tried to fix another thing. Like I literally just fixed it. So right after.
Okay. What did you do?
So Facebook came out with, like in the last few weeks, apparently, it came out with a new studio version for broadcasting on it. And I think what it is
I
I think
trying to keep up with YouTube.
I think everybody's really scared with, data management, data holding. So what I keep getting from what I got here was, it was actually trying to tell me it didn't want to access any of my my microphones or anything like that, and I had to go into another setting page. It's not my system preferences page or what we set it up as. It's like another version of it. And when I went in,
It's like the secret menu.
yeah, and so like I came into this menu here, and it had another drop down menu. It was still back on my default MacBook speakers, which it shouldn't be on my MacBook speakers because we've clearly chosen from our super high techie microphone setup. Techie. Because it comes from China.
Keep talking into your mic, like up on that thing.
Like up on this thing, like this.
Up on it.
Up on it. Wah, wah,
We are
wah, wah.
one really good official professional podcast.
So we've got a slight echo
For sure.
sound. Slight echo sound.
That's crazy. I don't know.
I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah,
But
I feel like we're
it's not gonna be-
getting it from all of them.
It's not going to be echoed on YouTube when it goes back up on YouTube, for the record. So
Yeah,
we
still the same.
consider that.
Womp womp.
Man.
Anybody got any advice here?
Right? Can somebody have IT call us, please? we need tech support. Yeah, it is what it is. You can follow us on our YouTube page. This episode will go live probably in the next day or so, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's probably no reason to hide it back for very long.
Sans the echo and the weirdness and the sounds, but hopefully y'all can work through it with us here.
Yeah, hang out, give us some topics to help discuss, talk about.
We could still chat. Our fingers work.
Yeah.
You guys need to all comment that you want to talk about Tiger King because Scott hates it.
I don't want to talk about Tiger King.
And I refuse.
Please.
I refuse.
Are many of you listening?
You haven't watched
or
it?
watching
I
Tiger
refuse.
King?
Beth keeps asking for it. And
What,
I'm like,
Tiger King?
Which
Yeah.
means you'll have to cave eventually.
hell no. She can watch it. She can watch it on her own somewhere else then, because like I'm not when I'm. Like, we
Listen,
have enough
you're the one that wants to hang out with people, okay?
man. But my 3.5-year-old is already terrorizing me enough. Like I feel for him, like because I don't think he can grasp yet the
Oh,
situation
for real.
of what.
We traveled outside of our quarantine zone. We went to Fort Worth yesterday.
Rebel.
And Remy went over, and the place where we went, she had a blast. They were running around having fun playing.
We've got a
it.
what is Tiger King?
Oh, John.
We'll let you take
John
care of that one, there,
McLaughlin.
Brando.
It's on Netflix. It's a
like-
docu series. Go watch it.
The most popular thing through Netflix right now, right?
It's like a
You know
train
what's
wreck.
crazy is I'm listening to this on delay in my ear. I can't do that anymore.
It's like
I was losing my mind.
It's like a train wreck, and most people can't stop looking.
Rick says 3 feet in Texas. What does that mean? I thought it was 6 feet. It's only 3 feet in Texas. We can be closer in Texas.
3 feet.
Is that
away.
because everything's bigger in Texas, so we can just be closer?
That's exactly right, Rick. I like that, man. I like the way you're thinking. Believe it or not, we are 6 feet apart. This is just hyper awesome.
It's an optical illusion.
Optical illusions.
Yeah,
And video.
I couldn't actually
editing.
touch Jason right now if I wanted to. We have
Like,
a
we've
special
got some of the
camera that
most-
closes the gaps in between.
It's
us.
a fisheye lens actually. That's
We've
on
got
it.
some of
Yeah.
the most amazing technology.
It's a fisheye lens on it. These tables are huge. Trevor
Here,
Reed did an
Nicole, she
amazing
says stopped at episode 2 and then picked it back up.
I got through episode 1.5. Like I was halfway through 2, and I'm like, this is dumb.
Dude, you got to get to the Carol Baskin episode.
I think the
Carol Baskin episode's the best because they follow each other because they start talking about her killing her husband, and you're like, you get into all the stuff about that, ridiculous.
How do you feel if you're her right now, though? Like all of that stuff's gone through, and like she's in this situation now.
Dude, she's
so
counting money.
They reopened her husband's case because of this.
I don't know. That was an April Fool's joke.
No, that was for real. Like I'm sure enough people are bringing this up, and so it's going to get looked into further.
It's Carol Baskin's case. I do love that O.J. Simpson was like that one. I did see.
Takes one to know one, you know.
Well, Scott doesn't know about this, and you don't know about this either. But there's a scene where Joe Exotic is talking about how the people that worked on his zoo tried to have him killed because he would always record videos. And he's in this pen with like 6 or 7 big ass tigers.
Okay.
And he's recording a video, and one of them comes up on his shoe and literally bites onto his shoe and drags him down, like damn near like tweaks his knee, like he gets drugged to the ground, and he's like trying to beat it with his little cane that he has because he's got a bad knee, and the tiger keeps dragging him basically across the ground. So he has a gun that he pulls out and shoots like near the tiger. It doesn't shoot the tiger, shoots like next to it to get the tiger to let him go. And he's like, somebody put this I guess there's stuff that you can use. It's like catnip for tigers that makes them like drool all over everything, and like they love it. And Carol Baskin, they record a scene with her, and she goes, well, you wouldn't want to use something that makes them drool all over. Like, if you wanted to get a tiger to eat someone, you'd cover them in, like, sardine oil. You wouldn't, like, do something that would make them drool. And it's like, bitch, how do you know that? Because you put sardine oil all over your husband so that they would eat him?
I figured it was something to that effect because those memes are going around, like,
crazy.
I
mean, how would they even prove it at this point?
I mean, if you found remains of him somewhere.
So the discussion...
But what I'm saying, again, same thing.
Analyze...
DNA, like, you're going to find DNA from that. Like, you'd have to find bones.
So
the only thing you'd be able to
discussion that I just saw when I was looking it up as we were discussing here is it appears that they're reopening the case in an effort to get information from anybody who may have watched Tiger King and had a follow-up.
This is what happens with this stuff. It's the murder mystery podcast genre is crazy.
So they are bringing in a animal whisperer to talk to the
Jennifer
tigers.
said he was the police chief in 1982.
Her brother was.
Her brother was?
Really?
Her brother was the police chief for that whole setup. So they were saying allegedly they don't know if the case was looked into super well because her brother was kind of heading all that, and it would be like, oh, I know you, and I'm trying to tell them like, hey, like, I don't know that you would necessarily have enough pull for that. It was a very weird angle to take on the...
It says Joe Exotic was police chief in 1982.
Oh, really? Was he?
He ran for
president.
He ran for president,
Oklahoma,
too, and then that didn't
right?
happen, and then he ran for mayor. And he
I-
had condoms with his face on it, and he was like, because if you don't vote for me, you're effed. Is what he said.
I think this just validates everything we've gone through with Oklahoma over the years, huh?
Right.
Knew
One
that was
person
coming,
that's a
didn't you?
dumbass validates that.
Yes.
I'm just going to start doing all this research about retards from New York. I'm going to be like, yeah, sorry, excuse my language. I know I'm not supposed to use that word. I'm going to get in trouble now.
So actually, a friend of mine from the Army, he's like a hotshot driver, does deliveries of like tiny houses and things like that. And he took a tiny house down there a couple of years ago to Carol Baskin's location, and for somebody to live in on the property. And then I had a couple other friends that grew up in Florida that said that like she, when they were kids in elementary school, like would bring baby tigers to the school for them to see, like as part of like a Jack Hanna type thing,
Listen, the thing that people freaked out the most was that they found out that they could get a tiger for $2,000. Like everyone was like, what am I doing with my stimulus check?
Well,
I'm buying a tiger.
Dude, I mean, people are buying designer breed dogs for $1,500 to $2,500 on up.
Right.
I mean, you could get a tiger.
Oh, I know. People were like, what? A tiger's only $2,000? Like, what the hell? How did I not know that?
Speaking of like these designer breeds, I mean, they're mutts that people have made into, instead of $100 dog,
like Labradoodles, Golden Doodles.
Yeah,
things
now it's like a desired designer dog. That I mean, these things are like $2,500, $3,000.
So we're speaking.
For a dog.
For sure.
Well, so we're speaking dogs. What I did get into this weekend on Netflix, like I got really deep into. I told my wife, I was like,
You're not going to watch Tiger King, but
You
he's
got
about
really
to
deep
drop
into
something
it,
that-
and you told your wife, "What are you doing, man?"
I got bored, and I was like, you know what? I want to learn some more about the royal family and like secrets of the royal family. So like I was watching that, and then it ran across to like some like really weird stuff about like the royal family, and one of the princes who was cut from the family because like he became like a number one or right hand man for Hitler, and like that's what it was. Yeah, it was running to. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
That's much more interesting than the movie I found this weekend.
I was about to say, I know we were kind of on this, I think if we really wanted our podcast to go crazy, we should have started a true crime podcast, because apparently those go stupid.
There's so much time and investigation.
Oh, they do. It's so much stuff to be able to tell a story. Like it's way too much work.
We would have to create crime and then report on it.
No. You just find stuff, and then what he's talking about, the like building a story and like knowing how to do that. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want to come on here and bullshit with you guys. Like, I don't want to have to do that.
It's way too much work. Like,
but there is a podcast. I'm telling you, every single one of you, just listen to the first episode. If you hate it, don't listen to the rest of it. But it's by Wondery. It's called Dr. Death. It is about a neurosurgeon in Dallas, Texas, that killed like multiple of his patients, and basically was a neurosurgeon that had no idea what he was doing.
I'm subscribing right now just so I can do this tomorrow.
Yes, please listen. I got into it and I could not believe it. So he's this guy, Dr. Dunch. One of the first people that he actually messed up was a really good friend of his. Hey, I need to have surgery on my neck. Dude, he cut into this guy so bad that basically he removed his head from his body, essentially.
Jesus.
What?
Like the way that he went in to try to fix everything, he basically decapitated the guy.
Did he kill him?
How many episodes are there?
No, like the guy stayed alive, but he was a quadriplegic. There's only like 6 or 7. It's really short.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. And there's a few of them that are, like look really.
So Wondery
really
does a lot of really good ones. They did, a friend of mine shared this one called The Dating Game Killer, which by the way is also a good one. But as a parent, it will make you want to punch the guy in the face. Because it talks about how this guy, like, back in the day, used, like, being charming to, like, pull up on these girls on the side of the street.
Charming?
Being charming.
Being.
Acting
Got it.
charming.
Not being charming.
No.
Right.
No, like, hey,
I don't
hey little kid,
know
would
what
you
that
like
would
some
mean.
beans?
How much have you drank? What was it?
Charming beans.
So he would get these girls to, like, basically because as a child, she was taught to be respectful to adults. So he's like, if I kind of play that angle, he would get these girls into his car. And luckily, the first story that they ever talk about on the podcast, not to ruin everything, but there was a guy watching him do this, and he followed him to his apartment, called the cops, and the cops actually kick in the door, and they end up saving this girl's life.
You were telling me about this one.
Yeah. I was like, having a daughter, like, especially for you. Oh, yeah. Dude, you will get so. But
and it's all
the doctor,
audio, no video.
Yeah, that's all audio.
Okay.
The Dr. Death one got me because, again, you start listening to some of this anatomy and stuff that they're doing, and they're like, this guy's supposed to be doing spine surgery, and he's doing, the thing that doesn't really give anything away, but you'll hear within the podcast is, so if you're going to be a surgeon, what happens is when you're making your rounds and doing all that stuff before you get released to be like a real doctor, when you're doing all that stuff, you have to perform, I think it's like a minimum of like 2,500 surgeries. Well, okay. This guy was working in a laboratory coming up with some science that was supposed to help people with disc issues, and they were going to do injections.
Okay. And
it was this really interesting science. Well, while he was in school, basically he spent more time in the lab than he did actually performing surgeries. So one of the doctors, they interviewed this doctor, and they're like, hey, so on average, like, how many surgeries should someone have before they're out and like actually practicing and doing this and doing surgeries on people? And he said a minimum 2,500. Guess how many surgeries this Dr. Dunch, Dr. Death guy did?
6.
10.
100.
Well.
So he's done 100 in a reference to, I
expected it to be really, really low.
Yeah, but 100 in reference to 2,500?
I mean, it's still ridiculous.
And they're talking of like almost each surgery. Like, you should have done thousands, like a lot of these surgeries in order to go out. This dude didn't know what he was doing. And one of his friends from high school was like, he was a guy that would always... Like, in football, he would do the drill until he could get it. And he was terrible and he wasn't the best, but he just had the best work ethic. Like, he would never give up. Well, it was the same shit with this stuff. But it started to, like, get to his head. Like, he started getting this God complex, and he was doing drugs, and, like, literally he would show up.
To be doing drugs.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
And he would show up after, like, binging and doing drugs all night, and he would go in and do a surgery the next morning. And the girls that he was working with, would be like, don't you think like that's a bad idea? And he's like, no, I'm good. And like somebody would go into surgery, they'd have the surgery, he'd close them up, they'd come out and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain, what the hell's going on? And so the hospital would be like, what's going on? They take an x-ray and they'd be like, the screws are supposed to be in your lumbar spine and it's in your psoas muscle over here. Like he dropped a screw in there and anchored this stuff, like this hardware's not in there right. And he would go in and remove a disc and literally just wreck the anatomy on both sides of that. He lacerated nerves. So you're talking about a nerve that once you cut it, bro, that's done. And somebody was like, I can't feel my leg. It's not working. And he had literally just obliterated like 3 nerves on the side of their lumbar spine.
That's scary shit.
That is stupid scary.
And the hospitals weren't doing anything about it because it's more red tape to have to turn him in and go that. So they would just release him and he would go to another hospital because a neurosurgeon is like a unicorn. You get a neurosurgeon at a hospital, you can make money off of that. Like you're literally just the amount of money that you can make off of that. So he went to like 4 or 5 different hospitals around here in this area and was working at these hospitals, and they would just pass him off.
That's crazy.
And it was
we just had a big influx of people coming on, so I wanted to like let them know to go check out our YouTube.
That's because I shared it.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
And so
a bunch of people I went to high school with actually just showed up on. So
It's like we know people's.
hey guys,
it was just super interesting because you're talking about a guy that literally you would think, and they said it was really hard because malpractice insurance is in there to protect doctors.
Right.
Because, with surgery, sometimes you're going to do something and you're going to be trying to do everything that you can, and sometimes somebody's going to die or something's going to happen. And doctors were starting to get worried because there's never been anyone get charged for something like this guy.
For me, William. Check the echo quick for me. I know it's gonna take a hot second to go up there, but I wanted to try something quick.
No, that's fine.
But no, it was like unprecedented because they're like, we don't have any way. No one's ever come against a doctor like this. They're sort of protected, and it's like, that's such a messed up way. Like, you really trust someone like that.
Right.
You're going to come in and you expect them to take care of you. And it's like, and they said he was really suave like that. He would convince these people. They were like, I thought he had my best interest. They talk about some media company he hired to run an ad for him that looked like patients that weren't really patients of his. It was like a paid for ad. Horrible.
No. That's crazy. So over the weekend, I found a movie. I've watched it twice now, called The Hunt.
What did you do? It sounds
a lot better.
Yeah.
So for some reason on this analog thing, I had it on mix, so it was using the mic import we had and HDMI. Apparently I shouldn't just get any of that reading there.
Okay, that's good.
So at least that's good news to know.
Perfect.
Now we're good. Now we're perfect.
Sorry, all of you people that were on previously.
You're welcome. Thanks for sticking with us.
Invite all your friends back. We're good now.
Shoot
only a trillion technical difficulties.
Shoot the podcast a private message. We'll get you some stickers for hanging in there with us.
So just sharing a podcast with you. That podcast was called Dr. Death, by the way, if you guys didn't see. Like, literally, when you're up here, Scott, just throw an AirPod in and just listen to one episode.
I'll do it next time I'm sandblasting.
That's what I was doing the other day when I was sandblasted up here. Like,
I mean, literally, I'll be like working on something, or if we're working in the yard, like I told you the other day for my in-laws, I helped them, and I was using a backpack leaf blower, and I literally just AirPods in, and I'm like, just listening to a podcast.
Go to town.
That's what you can do with us, by the way. Just want you to know.
Yeah, especially if you like subscribe on YouTube.
Like,
we're giving out free subscriptions until Corona's over. We're going to give out free subscriptions.
Like if you've got nothing better to do,
which none of us do,
we can make it better,
right?
No question about it. So I was watching this movie, man. It's called The Hunt. Have you heard about this?
Dude, I heard. I think it was. It was Dana White. So one of the guys from Barstool was interviewing Dana White, one of the kids that's got like a Mom's Basement podcast, I think is the name of his podcast. Yeah. And he was interviewing Dana White, which I think this would be really good to do with you guys. So you guys should comment these below. He was going through and asking him, what is your quarantine movie? What's your quarantine snack? What's your quarantine, like, what are you going to wear when you're in quarantine? Like, what are all the things that you're doing on that? And 2 of the movies he named were Ford versus Ferrari.
Love it.
And which I haven't watched yet, and The Hunt. And he said, like, the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, he's like, they're cheesy as shit. And he was like, and then it gets really good.
Yeah, it almost has a Tarantino type feel.
Who?
It's not Quentin Tarantino.
I was curious. I'm like, who wrote it? I've heard about this.
Like that,
gotcha.
But it's because the kind of neat thing is there's some pretty famous people in it.
Yeah, I could do that one.
I was gonna say, and
I'm not going to ruin it for all of you. Just go check out The Hunt. It was a pretty interesting movie, and maybe next episode we'll talk about it a little bit more. I don't want to ruin it for you guys. But
I
I've
will
seen
tell-
it twice. That's pretty rare for me to
I will
get
tell
that
you.
far into a movie. Thanks, sir.
I will tell you, Brandon. Like, you need to come over to one of our places and let us crank up the
media room? Hell yeah,
room
let's do
for
that.
Like, we need to be able to do that. I mean, I'd say
You guys want us to live stream that? It'd be hilarious. Just our reactions.
It'd be dark.
All you can see is our faces.
the one I do say, like, I can't. And you told me this. You said that, like, I needed to see probably see Ford versus Ferrari in the movie theater. Of it,
No, I didn't see it in the theater.
I know, but we were talking about how good it sounded on the stuff, even in the media rooms and stuff. Like, I can only imagine on, like, a massive screen on the massive.
I wish they
system
would
on.
still let you go to the movies. Like, hey, we're only allowing like 15 spots, but
One
you can
person
still
per
come
row.
in.
It's better.
Yeah.
You can now get the movies at home. Like,
Yeah, they're
Yeah, but I like going to the movies.
Speaking to which,
you need a
what-
media room, and you wouldn't go to the movies anymore.
No, I
4
still
days.
would. I like going
Well,
to the movies.
really?
Yeah, man.
Well, 4 days, 3 technical days, because
So for right
Trolls
now-
2 comes out.
So
I'm
for-
super excited about the Trolls 2 World Tour.
So for
I love
that's
it.
awesome.
I love Trolls though.
Dude, I had a Trolls Walkman growing up. So
I could tell.
I was growing up.
I could tell.
I mean,
Just because you were too
I've
old for
got
that.
the- I'm
doesn't-
working the
I was
Trolls
gonna say,
haircut.
you got a
Justin
troll.
Timberlake and
Yeah.
Anna Kendrick though. I mean,
Before
you
the
can't
end
go
of this
wrong.
quarantine, this is going to be some color.
JT and her. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
come on.
Does anybody else want to have a grow your hair like trolls competition?
So, anyways,
Well,
back to
I
your
might
thing.
Dennis the Menace
The reason I like going to the
Colic up.
movies, dude, that was like a thing for me and my dad. That was a big, like, when we started building our relationship when I was a little bit older, my dad, and he still is like that. My dad loves
Your
going
dad
to
was
the
like, I don't
movies.
want to talk to this kid.
Let's go.
to the
Let's go
movies.
No.
sit in the dark for 2.5 hours.
Sure, there's other things, but again,
You wanna
that's
watch
just
Titanic?
part.
It's
That's
5.
that's just part of what we do.
Band of Brothers showing is going on. That's 12.
Hey, I'm cool with it.
You've
It's
lived
fine.
in Oklahoma
They're
your
just
entire
jealous.
life. You want to
Like,
hide
Dad,
in the
it
movie
worked
theater?
for me. Nah, but man, take every time you want to watch a movie. It's on quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Take like $60, put it in a coffee can.
Burn it.
Right? No, don't burn it. Save it because by the end of quarantine, you'll have enough money to buy a big TV and big speakers.
Well, I
and-
don't have like 12 kids like you apparently, so I don't spend $60 whenever I go. So I'm normally
What
okay.
does it cost for you and your wife to go to a movie?
$30?
Really?
Yeah, because tickets plus we sneak in whatever the shit we want to the movie.
That's a doctor.
Don't act like
we
you don't
do
do
that
that.
too.
Yeah, I'm like, don't act like you don't do that. He's like, God, how
What a
dare you?
doctor.
We
stop
do
by
that
a
too.
dollar store and Alana loads up and we
Damn straight.
we sneak all that shit.
I may
in.
get a drink
Absolutely.
there if I wanted something like that, but again, still, it's like, if we're doing that, it's like, we want to go out and watch a movie. Like, and I got a 2-year-old, so it's not like we're doing that all the time.
Right. Same thing. Oh, gosh.
You know, majority of stuff is we're watching at home, which freaking Apple right now needs to be making everything for rent. Like, they're like, oh, hey, everything's for rent, like April, whatever, but like you can buy it. I'm like, I'm not going to spend $20 to buy that damn movie. That's where I'm like, I'm not doing that.
But you'll spend 30
To go watch it. Yep.
and not keep it.
I'm
Yep.
100% on. We already bought Onward, which is a pretty good movie.
Which Disney Plus just
Man,
released.
I gotta get you set up.
That's what I mean. Like, we did that one.
I gotta get you set up with my media guy. I mean, he sets me up on his Plex.
You're not supposed to leak that.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
it's on
Plex
his
is-
own personal server.
Plex is his own personal server.
He buys movies and he releases them to all his clients. So it's funny because he'll post online like, I see everybody's definitely at home. My Plex metrics are way up.
Yeah, we already basically had pre-requested that for Trolls 2.
B Money's on
World
here. He's the
2.
one who told me about.
God, what was the other one we bought the other day?
He told me about Dr. Death. I listened. He's talking about the guy was way over his head.
Okay.
That's what he
Brian?
commented. Yeah,
Brian.
he's like, that guy's way. He was, and he
Clearly.
just didn't know how to get out of it.
So you're B Brown. Is he
Uh-huh.
B Right?
No, he's B Money.
But his last
He's
name
one of
is
our
Wright.
specific docs. He
I
runs
know.
our office in
Is
Elk
that the
Grove.
one on your game night live? Everybody was like, you were asking for money when you mentioned his name.
Yeah, and somebody was like, "Oh, so hungry
Bragging
for
on
money
you.
or whatever," and I'm like, "I'm talking to Brian Wright, whose nickname is B Money," and I told him to invite all of our docs
If my
to
name
come
was
watch.
Brian Wright, I'd be right. You know what I mean?
All the time.
Dr.
I'm always
Wright.
All the time.
Yeah, you don't want Doctor Wrong.
Joe Eliot.
Exactly.
You
just
want
got here.
Dr.
Doctor
Wright.
Wright.
I mean, how do you know you're in the right spot? Dr. Wright.
Dr. Right place, the right time.
Mr.
Oh,
Joe
that's an old comment.
Elliott,
Somebody
Elliott,
commented
Elliott.
that there was a slight echo. We're good now.
Yeah, everybody said it got much gooder when I
So
Flip that.
what,
It got
what,
much
what
more
do you have
gooder.
for plan for the rest of your quarantine vacation?
Well, I'm not technically on one. I'm not gonna lie. Not a whole lot has changed about what I do on a daily basis. I still go take care of people every day,
he's a
basically.
healer.
Saturday actually was the first Saturday I've taken off in forever. I had like a little, like sales workshop webinar that I was doing with my coaches. So I took that day off, which was super nice. I haven't done that in a while. We went and got coffee, got breakfast, took Remy to get donuts. It was great.
So I'm going to respond to Dr. Brian Money Right.
Be
The
money.
Dr. Payne would be bad. The one doctor that I had an interesting encounter with was Dr. Chop, and I will leave it to your imagination as to what procedure he took care of for me.
Dr. Chop.
snip.
Urology.
Nice. I actually had a drill sergeant pain. It was spelled just like that.
You had to get your dick trimmed off? It's that big?
Dude, every month. You know how some people go for haircuts regularly?
You too? That's all you gotta say. Dude, no way.
It's like that day.
All three of us?
That day we were talking about.
No way.
It's who are we talking about?
Listen, you've heard
No,
of
but-
breast
no.
reduction. Guys can have it too, okay?
Every
You're
month.
talking-
It's insane.
You were talking about what's his name?
Ever since I started using hot
the
dog
Mavs.
lip balm, shit's gone crazy.
We'll sell your shit.
Man, we should have done that. By the way, I got another game I'm gonna have to bring up here.
Oh yeah.
Where it's kinda like the questions I always post, it's like the
Would you rather?
sort of, but it's like the internet's like Haven and I played it the other day on a Facebook Live, and it's like one of the questions is like pancakes or waffles, are cats jerks, is a
Yes.
hot dog a sandwich, like
No.
there's all these really random questions that are in there that's like when you play it with a group of friends, basically like one person is the judge and you have two sides, and it's like, do you agree or disagree, and everyone votes. It's like supposed to be this whole thing, but of course we just buy games and make up our own damn rules, and it's like, hey, we got these cards and we're just gonna sell you whatever's on this card,
Historically accurate, and we just do whatever we want.
and we do what we want,
Do what we want.
and we do it on the podcast.
So those aren't the rules of that game?
Do you guys get the ad that pops up about the pod deck? You probably don't, because you don't research enough podcasts or do anything on that stuff. But if you had any of that show up, like there's a deck of cards that someone made it that's like topics that you could talk about on a podcast.
Huh.
No, but sometimes
And
I feel
it's-
like we should have that.
And it's popped up as an Instagram ad.
How many times we
multiple
had
times.
Corona and TikTok conversations at this point?
Did we
Basically
cover
all we
TikTok
talk
yet,
about.
or are we good?
No, we.
Well, I didn't talk about that story, but we can determine whether we want to talk about that or
It's
not.
a good story.
Um,
It's story time with Dr.
It's
Brown.
story time. So the contents of this story are legitimate, but the names have been changed for the protection of the people.
This is a Dr. Death story, isn't it?
No, it's like the opposite of that. I'm like the opposite of that guy. I think that's why that's so fascinating
This
of what
is-
that guy did.
This is False Crimes with Dr. Brandon Brown.
So you guys know we talk about TikTok all the time, and I talk about it, especially like we're trying to do this for Scott to blow up Etchus, but it's literally blown up my office. Like I've had lots of people come into my office that come in and I'm like, well, how'd you find my office? And they're like, this is going to sound weird, but I found you on TikTok. And I'm like, cool. And so I think I've had 20 people so far this year that have
Holy
come in from
shit.
that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
So officially with her coming in today, that put it at 20. I had a
All
guy come
signed
in
up
last
for
week.
care, everyone.
Yep. So everybody's been 100% that's coming from that.
Fuck, that's killer.
And so TikTok has been fantastic for my business and me trying to create my, the Migraine Doc brand and what I'm trying to do and really trying to help people. And, I've been trying to think through that stuff too of like what I want to do and what kind of impact I'm trying to do. And like, again, like for me, sometimes it's really weird to say the big things that you want to do or really step into something like, hey, with that, we want to take over this stuff for whatever. Like, how big do you want something to be? And like, how much do you want to step into that? Like, I literally want to buck the system when it comes to migraines and be like the known guy within that system. And it's like, oh no, you don't want to go to those. Like you want to go to that guy. Like I'm essentially trying to do everything I can to build that brand where it's like, that's the guy that you want to go to. I'm not trying to sit here saying I'm the end all be all, but I got a pretty damn good solution. And so the way that I'll back that up is, if someone is willing to travel to see you amidst COVID-19, then I would say that that's pretty damn important. So I had a family reach out to me because they had a daughter that was really sick. Deals with anxiety, depression. She's in so much pain that literally she'll do anything to get out of it.
She had an accident, or is it just naturally charged?
Man, we talked about it today, and I think it stemmed all the way back to, like, she had a traumatic birth. She was a C-section baby, and she was in a feeding tube the moment that she was born, and she's kind of always had problems like that. And she's a twin, and her twins kind of always had issues too.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of it stems back to that, and it was pretty bad. And then she was in a car accident like about a year and a half ago, and that kind of, she was doing like a little better, and that like aggravated it and made it even worse. And so a friend of hers came across my TikTok, and her friend shared it to her, and she started following my stuff. And then apparently she's like 21, 22, and she talked to her parents, and she was very adamant to them about wanting to try to come see me. Well, these people live in Alaska. Of all places.
Not Alaska, Texas.
No,
like
Alaska.
the Alaska.
Like
Anchorage, Alaska.
Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
You can see Russia from
Like-
her house, Alaska.
Like, exactly. I love that.
That's 2 in a row. That's two tonight.
One more. You
So-
get the trifecta award.
She was Sarah Palin was recently on The Masked Singer.
Was she really? Was she one of the ones?
Yeah,
That's cool.
I know.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. Here we go. Continue with your story.
No, so to try not to drag this thing out too much. So her parents reached out to me, and they had gotten a hold of me, wanted to talk on the phone. She had been having some other gut issues that were coming up with it too. So we had a lot of things that were connected. She's having all these problems going on. They can't really figure anything out. And they were like, well, she wants to, this gut issue has just kind of flared up a little bit more. It was kind of hit or miss, and now it's really flared up, and she wants to wait a little bit till that gets better in order to come see you. And so they're like, well, what if we do, some Zoom consulting, some of the stuff that we were talking about, like, what if we just, and I'm like, yeah, we could totally do that. Like, I'll try to help you as best I can. And then, whenever we find a time, like, you can come see me. And I'm like, if we got to wait till we get past this, like, again, I'm not putting any pressure on them. It's totally their decision.
Well, we could fly from Alaska to Texas right now for $29 a head.
Right. And they're like, listen, flights are cheap right now. And so she got a hold of me on Saturday and was just like, hey, if we came out there, like, could you see us like this week, like schedule wise? And I'm like, yeah, listen, with the way things are going and I'm kind of tightening my hours down, like I can extend myself out and be able to set some stuff up to be able to see her. And so she was like, I want to talk to my husband. We'll double check, but I'll get a hold of you. So she got a hold of me later that night, and she's like, hey, we're going to fly in on Sunday night. When can we come in? And I was like, cool, we'll set up something for Monday morning. She's like, perfect. So flew in Sunday night, got a hold of me. They made it no problem. When you travel, you're supposed to be under a 2-week quarantine, but they can still go see people for medical purposes, is what they were told. So came in today again. I'm trying to limit people, keep everything clean, don't freak out, don't worry, like trying to do everything I can to keep everybody as safe as possible. Came in, went over everything. Yeah, I wash my hands.
He's even washing his hands.
Finally.
I use hand sanitizer.
How long
Again,
have we been asking him to do this?
Scrubbing his butt and washing his hands.
guys, come on.
It's all right. We're 43 minutes into this. Most of these people aren't listening anymore anyway.
Yeah, you're zoned out. You're doing something else. You're just like trying to watch Netflix, but you really just want to watch us. I know what you're doing.
Well, that's it. My wife just logged in, so she's probably actually watching Tiger King.
She's
at
trying
home.
to fall
Hi,
asleep.
Beth. She might be. If she is, I'm gonna talk to her about it. I'm gonna ask what she thinks.
So continue. So they're here. They're violating their quarantine to see you.
Not necessarily.
No.
They were told they were still allowed to see me. So yeah, they came in this morning. Kind of went over everything, talked to him. Again, I'm not necessarily trying to say that I'm the end all be all. My goal is to essentially be the person. I want to be your trusted advisor when it comes to your health. So if I'm not the person that can help you, let me help you find someone that is going to be
B-Money's
a
listening
benefit
this
to you.
as PJC said, though.
Oh, yeah. My man. I called him up today because, again, having multiple doctors within our group, I've got the ability to reach out to them. So I sent her x-rays over to them to get a backup on what I was thinking and what I was looking at to make sure I was on the right track. Again, I've been doing this for a little while. I feel very confident, but when I've got someone like B-Money that's been doing this for a while, I can reach out to him and know he's been doing this for 15 years. I can trust his opinion on whatever the hell's going on.
You could trust that he'll validate what you're thinking.
Yes. He'll back me up on, what is the
Like, I'll be your witness and
Confirm or question. You know?
Exactly.
I'll be your expert witness.
And it's like,
No
hey, am I
problem,
on the
brother.
right track here? And like, it was pretty straightforward. I felt like I was on the right track. But again, talking to her parents, I just felt like everything made sense. Everything was on the right track. We did the nervous system testing and all the stuff that we do. Figured out that was the issue. Figured out where it was on her X-rays. You know, got her started today. So I'm hopeful.
So did you talk to them this evening to see how she's doing, or?
I have checked in with them, and then she's coming in again tomorrow, first thing in the morning too. Okay. So they're basically staying here as long as they need to, is what they told me. So she's basically going to come see me
all the way from Alaska. Yep. That's awesome. That's
so she's they're like, if we got to stay a month, if we got to stay, we're going to do whatever it is that we need to do. So the dad might have to travel back. He's got a business that he's got to attend to.
Right.
Again, I'm not trying to give too many details to protect them. But it's a really cool story. Like, I'm hoping at some point, depending on how she responds, like, I want to get some video of it. I'd love for her to be able to share her experience. And then I've got some video content I'm going to put out coming up of, I want to like almost, I might have one of you guys do it, but I was thinking about having Haven do it. Like, I want to have this like sports where you're like interviewing someone about the game and everything that happened, and like I want to just have someone like asking me, and I'm like set up in like a studio with lighting, and I'm just like talking about the
studio.
We know a place where we could do that. So but I wanted to get some cool lighting in order to do that.
We've got cameras,
and have it essentially like talk about like my experience with TikTok
Sometimes
lately,
they
like
work
what it's
even.
done, and like have it almost kind of satirical, a little bit and funny, but like also serious of like what that's done and how I've been able to reach more people and get the message out that I'm trying to do. Because again, you know, we talk about support local Texas and all the things that we're doing. Like we
haven't spoken.
We haven't talked about
but
that.
we are now.
That's our next topic.
Yeah, so we're
finish up so we can roll into that.
We're just gonna roll into it right now. Like us being local small business owners, like we're trying to do everything that we can to help other small businesses and also keep our doors open and stay alive. Like my coach has told me, we make it out of this, we're going to be money. Like we've got a plan. We know what we're going to do, but we got to make it.
We're not going to be money.
Be money.
We're gonna be money.
Yeah. Like we'll be good. Like we got to keep the doors open. We got to keep things flowing. So luckily for me, I feel very confident that that's still going to happen. But with support local, you know, I loved it because I was thinking like, man, it would be really cool. And then Scott was like, I got this idea. This is what's going on. This is what we should do. And I was like, hell yeah, man. Cool. And then Scott's like, all right, I got this website up and this is what I'm doing. I already reached out to these other businesses and I'm like, hell yeah, man, I'm in on this. So we're growing it. The Facebook page, you guys should go over, Support Local Texas. There is a public Facebook page that you guys can like. And then there is a public group that we have where you guys can let us know what needs do you have. Like this is more of a public facing thing of us as business owners want to take care of the community that takes care of us. Like what good are we having a business if there's people out there that need toilet paper, that need water, that are struggling.
Let's be perfectly clear. Like everybody's impacted right now.
Yeah.
We're not like sitting on top of the heap here looking down saying, okay.
We're not in this room laughing like
we're in a very similar boat to most. Some days we're more fortunate than others. Some days we're not. But we know that there's people out there hurting. There's families who've lost an income. There's families that have lost 2 incomes. There's businesses that have had to fully shut down. I mean, it's just hard to fathom. And folks are embarrassed to ask for help. They need help.
You just got to ask.
We're just working through it. You know, when we catch wind of what's going on out there or who needs it, we get a group together, we figure it out, we deploy, and we see what we can do to help. We've got some T-shirts coming that I think we're going to end up selling and using the money to grant towards helping small businesses and neighbors with
that need
financial need right now. Because right now every little bit helps. Heck, if we can make a mortgage payment for somebody.
Listen, if you can help with rent, if you can help with payroll, if you can help with whatever it is for a business.
We're not a nonprofit or anything like that, but we figure, if we can leverage our services, leverage what we do to help the community and, help somebody else survive, then that's a win at the end of the day, at least in our mind. So we've got about 12 different companies in the area that we've reached out to. Everybody kind of jumped on the wagon pretty early. Everybody wants to do something. Everybody's got some, ideas and goals. We started blogging a little bit. That's been pretty good. We've been doing a couple of Facebook Lives.
I'm a little bit more into vlogging, but yeah, you guys have nailed those blogs. I thought they were great. I'm not a blog writer. I'm more of a blog reader. So
No,
you
that's
guys
cool.
crushed
It's
it.
not- it's
Yeah,
not
but
for
you did
everybody,
one. I'm
but
like,
you
hey man,
did
good
it.
for you. Like when Scott was like, hey man, yeah, we should type up some blogs. If you didn't notice, normally I'm the guy that's like, hell yeah, man, let me jump on. I didn't try to jump on any of that.
I'll co-write them. I mean, I'm cool with that. You know, I don't mind doing it. I'm actually finding it very relaxing to just get it out of my head, because even whether
Kinda
it goes anywhere
cathartic.
or not, yeah, man. I mean, it's just like, and keeping it within a set amount of words. Like the recent one we did was with Cheryl Cassidy from the UPS store.
Okay.
Great people, by the way.
Awesome
Fantastic.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And they were one of the first ones I reached out to, and they were like,
Quick on it.
without hesitation, it was
Yep.
like, absolutely, we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put the call out to say, hey, let's build some content, she wrote about a paragraph and a half, and it was
Nice.
it was pitchy.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, you know how I feel about this, right? I don't want this to come across as
No, it's not a self-serving type.
slimy,
Yeah.
or come see me or any of that. So I'm like, you cool if we just co-write this? And she's like, yeah, just do whatever. And she used to be a teacher. So
Again,
I felt
yes, we
my-
want this for awareness, but we're not trying to sit here and be like, hey, here's our pitch or offer. Like, that's not the angle that
Yeah.
we're trying to work here. This is literally a service angle of how can we help?
Well, I think
Yeah.
one of the things that it started with was like just supporting our own and the individuals around us. So like a lot of it was like the toilet paper issues, like some
Yeah,
of the elderly needing to that we didn't have faith in getting out initially, and I think it's snowballed into a whole lot of this. It's like
It has.
the local. It doesn't mean local individuals. It doesn't mean local businesses only. It's we want our communities.
These are our communities.
Yeah.
And, this type of pandemic can make or break it. I mean, and it's going to do a lot of damage. There's going to be a lot of economic impact to this.
Well, and again, we're going to see that probably for
Ton.
the rest of the year. Like, there's
Right.
going to be things that play out. Like, even if
It's
we
gonna
do
be
still come
longer
out
than
of
that.
this, it's, this is going to carry over. Like,
It's not if it's when, but things are going to change.
I think it was your wife that shared. I saw her share a status that was like a bunch of these statistics about it, and she was like, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years
the
from
thing
now,
she wants to remember.
this is
it,
going to
yeah.
pop up on my on my thing, and like I want to remember, like again,
Where we changed from or what we changed for.
We had
What
shit
was it?
real great before a lot of this happened, and it's like, man, this is going to change
So I'm gonna
the way a lot of people look at stuff.
I'm gonna drop some religion.
Uh-oh.
I know, right? Very
That's-
rare for a guy like me.
That is very rare
But
for you.
I was on TikTok, and that there was a pastor on there. and
TikTok reference, hashtag it.
Womp womp. So he was talking, and it was kind of interesting. He's like in the year 2030, right? 20-year-old kid who's now 10. So I could relate to this. Is asking his parents, what the coronavirus pandemic was like back in 2020.
Oh, I saw this video that
Did you
you're
see the
talking about.
video?
It was a guy who was doing a sermon, right? Talking about
Yeah.
all the stuff that we got from it that was
positive.
that the parents' perspective versus the kids' perspective
Well,
was very interesting.
Yeah, because the kid wanted to know what it was like, right?
Yeah, well, like what was this like for you?
and the dad's response was, "Well, don't you remember?"
Uh-huh.
And the kid's back response
Well,
was,
because the dad's talking about like it was tough. We were trying to keep food on the table. Like I
well, it
would
was
be
the-
one way
it
to
was
you,
the, don't
but
you remember? And the kid came back and was like, "Well, I remember eating dinners together. I remember playing board games.
Spending more time
spending
together.
More time.
getting better sleep, not having to do all this schoolwork all the
Exactly.
time. Like it was just a lot of things that were more beneficial to him. And it's like the perspective of that of like,
and that's
yeah,
the view. That
Mhm.
and from the other side, from the adult, it's obviously hard times. Oh my God, this sucks. Am I going to lose my job tomorrow?
Yep.
Everything, that anxiety and all that races through your head. But
Well, we kind of had this conversation in the last one when I actually said that I was part of furlough in this. Like, my job is not gone. My company cut back 50% hours, 50% pay for the entire company all the way down. And is still taking care of us, which I love. I think I work for an amazing company that took the opportunity to say and report to the street that they reduced 50% overhead and not one person lost their job.
And
But-
I was about to say, I love that angle of like, hey, my wife's company again trying to do the same thing. Like there's people taking cuts in order to keep people on.
Right.
man, I'll tell you what. Pay attention right now to the companies that are doing right by their people.
Right.
Pay attention when you're looking at where you're going to invest your money. When you're looking at where you want to work, pay attention to those companies right now that are taking care of their people.
They're doing the right things.
taking care of their clients.
Another one
Doing
that
the
we
right
reference
things.
all the time, by the way, which not that they need the support, but the UFC, Dana White was adamant about that. Like he was like, somebody was releasing some BS article. He's like, we're taking care of everyone. And he's like, No one's losing their job. And he was like, I'm going to stand by this. Like, somebody said, because I have different bosses, I'm not going to be able to make that work. And he's like, that's not how this works. He's like, believe me, I'm going to stand by this. Like, I will make sure, and it will be 100% certain that no matter what, everyone in here is going to be taken care of, and we're going to stick and make it through this.
And just look around. Be physically aware of what the hell's going on right now.
Well, I think,
and watch what people are doing. Because
and I think that's a good part about it is like in the discussion with a lot of the people that I work with, you know, everybody kind of freaks out immediately because we lost 50% of our paycheck. We're only working 4 hours a day now, like all of that stuff. And I think resiliency is the big part that comes in to effect with that. And the military is really, while it doesn't do a lot of things really well, they do a really good job of when you go through the resiliency training, like working with individuals to ensure that they try to be resilient. And while I'm like, look, I'm tired of being in the house. I want to go out and lick public toilets just to get away and get it, get the coronavirus.
Listen, you can just go outside. You don't have to go lick a toilet.
Oh, jeez. Well, there's nowhere to go because everything's gone. Everything's gone. Like,
the world's come to an end here in Dallas, if you didn't know that.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to Plano lately, but good Lord.
Well, it is crazy when you go out and you do see the amount of people still out and still doing things.
Well, but so
like,
that's what I was
Jason
telling these
said,
individuals.
Like, find the silver lining.
Yeah,
Every cloud's got one.
Then that's what I was trying to tell the individuals that you smart ass. I
asked what you guys are doing in the stream.
Segment, find the silver lining.
For those of you watching this on YouTube, you're gonna be like, "What the hell? What are you laughing at?" I posted in our stream here on Facebook to be like, "Hey, what's everyone doing? Like, what should we talk about next?" And Scott coming podcasting. No shit, you don't say.
But I think, like I said, I think that's the important part about this is like I was able to look at people that I spend time with in my company and say like, look, we're not in a bad spot because we still have a job. Like they're applying for the SBC. I work for a really small company. I mean, we may be a pharmaceutical company, but there's 270 of us total in the organization, and there's like 70 of us that are in sales. So the rest of it are operations and manufacturing
and doing all the other stuff,
and all of that stuff. So it's not just about what we're out doing or any of that stuff. Like there's purpose, there's reason and all that stuff there. And from our CEO all the way down, they reduced all of their working time, and which I mean CEOs and the executives, right? Like I'm sure they're continuing to do whatever they can.
You're doing stuff. It's just
everybody's got a job,
and so
do what you got to do.
So they that's what I've had to tell a lot of people, and I think it's gone over well. I think it's been beneficial to a lot of the individuals to hear somebody else on their team be the positive person.
I was about to say, but again, like, you being that, like, props to you, because sometimes you need a voice.
And that's my thing. Is so like if you're those individuals out there, like be that part of it. Like look at this from the perspective of like how much worse could it be. I have a very, very good friend that I work with. She's freaked out a little bit about it because she is about to enter her third trimester and lives in another major metropolitan area. And like, so even if we get out of this, it seems like it's going to be right about the time that she gives birth. And then then she's going to want to be with the baby and all of that stuff. And how long will it take for us to get through all this stuff? And my response really at the end of the day to her was, look, if my company went under, there'd be 6 of us in the state of Texas arguing over the next 3 jobs from another company that were to come up. Like all 6 of us would be trying to fight or deciding if we needed to relocate or do anything like that. Like at least in this situation, if it gets down to that point where the economy absolutely crashes and all this stuff, like it's going to have to come back and people are going to have to find those jobs. So you have to look, and that's a silver lining for me, right? Like I'm going to be one of 50 people competing for 45 jobs. And I know damn well that I'm in the top 10% of anything that I'm competing with because I have that passion.
Right. Not that we're ever that arrogant about anything that we would ever do here. We think we got the best podcast, the best chiropractic office, the best engraver. I'm the best. Not that we would ever think that we could just sell you.
But I think it's
look, he had the secret menu on the secret menu of the advanced secret menu to find the final.
I don't know if you know this. I'm kind of a big deal.
I am kind of a big deal. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Well, and again, like you talk about, there's always these levels of just like you're going to figure out. That's weird. Sorry, my wife just texted me. She goes, "Hey, how much longer?" There's a weird guy outside yelling.
All right. Well, I got a handgun. And a rifle. Let's go.
I was about to say, whoops. We'll cut that part out. Don't worry about that.
Bleep.
If you find out some news.
Okay, what is the proper response to that?
What is the proper response?
What does he look like? Go outside and get a closer look.
I ain't gonna tell her to do that. I'm smarter than that.
Call the cops. Call the cops.
Yeah, I'm
Why are you
like, if
texting
you
me?
have
Call
to.
the cops.
Like, what am I gonna do? I'm not home.
Yeah.
Well, Hulk smash is all I thought
Hulk
about
smash
when
is badass.
we were talking about that episode earlier. I mean, we are right about an hour, and I know that we've had a few individuals just recently jump off. I thank everybody for coming on and struggling through our beginnings of this live podcast.
Which means the next one will be just marginally better. 'Cause we're gonna have to write this down, like all the stuff that we just figured out.
They're all marginally better. I mean, that's always how this goes. We just marginally innovate.
Look at the
Sometimes we
marginal
take
podcast.
massive leaps, and sometimes we take small leaps.
That's right.
And
It's
again,
true. It's true.
Listen, we just want to continue to,
This is a giant leap.
carry our stamp of media, of course. We want to make sure that everyone stays up to date. And we also want to give you a level of escapism. Like, if you just want to figure out and have something to do and feel like you're grabbing a beer and hanging out with us, like, seriously, if you're just sitting there, cheers. Like, it's one of those things. We want you to know that when you're sitting down and you're watching this, you don't have to worry about anything else. You don't have to stress about anything else. Just hang out with us and pretend we're just shooting the shit. Like, that's what this has always been. It's what it always will be.
Or you can shoot the shit with us, like
Yeah, you can always do that too. Listen,
like John. I mean, he was here the whole time.
B Money was here,
Struggled.
like, literally.
John, shoot us a note. We'll get you a sticker to throw on your car.
Yeah, man.
That way you could whore us out like everybody else.
Do you have a closing
Oh shit!
tonight?
No, I've been distracted.
Ooh, boy. Oh, man. Well, good, because I have some backup information. It's not a joke. It's not a closing.
I was going to say, I
do-
have a joke. I was going to give it.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead before Jerry.
How about we go
over here-
backwards? How about we go backwards? You do the dad joke.
Nice. I
and
like
I'll do the
that.
approval.
Zemi approve or disapprove.
Dr. Zimmy approves this message.
DZ.
Man,
DZ
there's so
nuts.
many good ones. We did like a really good stream of these the other day.
Hey, B Money. That's my favorite statement of the night. That it sounded really well this evening. So like,
Good.
once we figured her out,
I was
I
going to say,
think
once
we were
you're
on
like, oh, hey, let me flip this switch. Listen,
I mean, the good news.
listen,
is,
I'm going to give the worst plug ever.
good-
Sometimes that's the way it is with your health. You just got to flip that
just
switch,
gotta
right?
flip the switch.
The good news is
Cheap plug.
when you watch it again on YouTube, it's going to sound fantastic.
It's going to
all
sound
the way.
fantastic because I'll be able to do the editing after the fact.
Yeah, I was
so
about
that
to say,
echo will be gone,
they're
gone,
all
gone.
going to be fantastically fantastical.
All right, let's get the joke, Holmes.
Well, see, I was trying to pull this website back up because I wanted to get one
Oh,
of these
I got
really
it.
good
We're
ones.
getting angry faces because you're being you're doing that.
Oh,
Dinking
get out
around.
of here. Get out of here.
He's
Dinking
fine.
around.
He's TikToking real quick. Give him a second, everybody. It's like I'm trying to find that TikTok
So I got a
stream with that
question.
funny joke. Yes.
Is TikTok?
Oh, there it is.
We're
That's
doing
the
a
one.
Hashtag? Okay.
What about hashtags? Scott could tell you about that, I'm sure. What's brown and sounds like a bell?
A brown bell.
What's brown?
And sounds like a bell.
Sounds like a bell.
Dung.
That's pretty good.
I'll give him that one. I'll give a laugh on that one. That
Guys will laugh at a poop joke.
Pretty good.
Actually, what I was going to throw out there was tomorrow, for those of you listening
Tomorrow,
or watching on the Fatch Book,
the sun will come
those
out
of you
tomorrow.
watching on,
But not the fat book.
not the Fat Book, those of you listening on YouTube can
It's a
go
lot
check it
bigger
out.
than this.
We do have a
Huge.
few podcasts recording in here, one of which is the Starter Girls. Amy Lafitte, Jennifer Loading.
The other one's going to be launching this week.
Yeah. Yep, that one's getting ready to go because we're about to drop like 4 episodes at once, so that way everybody has the
say?
opportunity to do that. But I was actually recently on the Starter Girls podcast. They have some amazing guests, and I don't know why, but it was probably
Dude, for
Corona
real.
that they reached way down in the gutter to
Probably like
pull me out
Four
for being producer.
cancellations, you know, I don't know.
Well, we don't really have anyone else.
we
Hey,
have
you look
literally-
suitable.
Hey, you're gonna be up here. What are you doing?
I told Jennifer too. I was like, you know what? I'm not like, how do you want me to act? Like, I'm not gonna act like I am on our podcast. And she's like, I just seen whatever. So I wore a Hawaiian shirt up here.
Dude, right? Isn't that so
Record.
weird when you're on some other podcast and you're just like so used to this one and it's like I
How
don't wanna-
lax do I get?
Yeah, like what's your vibe here?
But
Like
so-
I don't want to kill the vibe. I don't want to drop an F-bomb by accident. I don't
I
want
did
to
bite my tongue a bunch on saying some
That's
swear
your
words.
audience. What the?
Yeah, we got lucky. We picked a long time ago. There's no tongue biting here. We just let it rip.
So, but yeah, it's supposed to. She generally releases Tuesdays, Thursdays. Corona has been very. It's affected a lot on them for recording and stockpiling it and keeping guests on. So obviously, I accidentally got to become a guest for them. But I had a great time with Jennifer. Amy wasn't able to make that one. I had a really good time. We had a lot of discussions about, again, resiliency came up in that discussion. Taking part of, in discussing like events that shaped me. Discussing like things that we had in common, that we didn't have in common, and just kind of lot of like,
it was kind of like speed dating.
Probably. I mean, she had her set of questions. You remember you guys used to have your top 20 questions or whatever before I came in. That she had a version of that, and I enjoyed it, and I listened to those questions every week when I'm back behind the camera producing for them.
Yep.
And I still had a hard time trying to answer them because I go back and forth. Like I've heard their guests say so many great answers. I was like, man, like that's a good answer. No, that other one's a good answer. And they always ask if you could be a superhero, one of the comic book superheroes, who would you be? And like I couldn't figure it out. Like every time I'd say an Iron Man or something like that, but I actually mentioned
that's a solid one.
I was like Batman.
You're a total Robin.
No, I was like Batman. Why? Because he's kind of a bad guy. Like he does good things, but it comes from a place where like he's willing to like do something bad for it. Like,
man, before I got into this is a really good question, because before I got into really hardcore into Marvel movies, like I would have picked Spider-Man any day easily, and it's still in my top 3. Like I think it's so hard to pick one. Like there's like a top 3. I would feel like Doctor Strange is one of my favorite Marvel movies, so I feel like I would have to pick him.
I said Batman because, and I think it was a lot from the military because.
And Iron Man is also a solid choice, by the way, because that dude's
Iron
rich
Man
and has some badass technology. Like, there's too many things in that win.
Well, I mean, so was Bruce Wayne with a badass car like that. So
yeah, but Iron Man's suit was better. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah.
But that was kind of my thing. Was like he for me, and it was kind of on the cuff. It was one of those things where I was like,
we already know Scott would pick the Hulk, so it's fine. We don't have to ask you.
Hulk smash.
Okay, so I'm going to tell another joke because I feel like we had a cheap plug and then like a plug of another podcast, which you guys should go check out because we support the other.
This one then?
I don't know. We'll see how it does.
We'll see. That's not how it goes.
I know. I feel like I burned my good one.
Script.
You want to just say it again?
Dung.
I was hoping he'd ask it again so we could both say the answer. TikTok.
What does a cow use to do math?
Oh no.
A calculator.
Calculator. Yeah.
You can't.
Listen, you took my poop joke,
now I
okay?
see how he feels.
Now you know.
Understand.
You would have used the fake noodle one.
The fake noodle joke.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, follow, share, check us out on YouTube. Thanks for being on our Facebook Live tonight. We may try and do a few more of these as we come up because we miss having the Facebook conversation. So hang out with us. Check it out.
I'm Zimmy, and I approve this message. And yes, Haven, he'll be home soon.
Be home soon.
Thank you.
Did she jump on?
Yeah.
Later, y'all.
Bye, guys.
I'll be home soon, baby.
Thank you.